Cabo.
Cabo.
IFA, everybody. Peace and blessings.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of the greatest
podcast on the planet. Let's talk IFA.
I say why. I am Awo Ifa Jamini Ray.
And I am Awo Ifa Tegunshe.
And today we have another very special guest here.
Special.
That's with us here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes.
This is a powerful sister in the community, doing her thing in business. She is on her spiritual path. So we wanted to bring her on and introduce her to our community, to the Let's Talk IFA citizens of the world. This is Taya Bolton, a.k.a. Egun Shegun.
Welcome.
The podcast. She is an initiate, a Egungun initiate, and she's a business owner and a big business move maker here in this area. How are you?
Dupe.
I
am well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you all today.
Welcome.
Yes, likewise. So, Taya, let's tell the people a little bit about who you are and what you do. You can start out with your business and also your, I don't know if it's a job or I'm not sure. It's a little bit mysterious, but you can break it down for us. I just see you making moves out here in the business world, so you break it down for us.
Yeah, please give it to us.
Aren't all Scorpios mysterious?
Oh, you a Scorpio?
A true Scorpio.
Okay.
So let's see. I have been a business owner for 18 years now.
Let's say for that. Black women in business for 18 years.
Yes, it's like I birthed a whole adult now. It's like 18 years. You can move on up and move on out. And so I always knew I'd be a business owner. I didn't know what that would be. I just knew in middle school when they started giving you all those assessments to be like, what's your personality? What do you really like to do? I was always a convener. I was always the leader, even in my neighborhood. And so I knew that it would be something, me thinking about money, I went through all the tracks of like, how much money can I make being a hairstylist? How much money can I make being a teacher and all the things? And then as I got older, I realized it's not about the money. The money will always follow. You have to follow the passion, right? So that was a big aha for me. And I always said in my annual reviews when I worked in corporate, by the age of 28, I don't know where this age came from. It's just something that in my heart I knew was true. At the age of 28, by then I will have started my own business. So you have me until then, right? And so, lo and behold, when I didn't realize I was 28 at the time, I had to go back and think about it. But life happened in a big way. All these things were happening. And so I was preparing to lose my dad from colon cancer. I was preparing to go through a divorce. And I had just gotten downsized from my position as a business manager overseeing a cluster of offices in the D.C. area. The week after Christmas, literally the last week of the year, after my 28th birthday. And that was the time for me to say, you know what, I've got to spend the last time I can with my dad. I've got to be with my 3 children who were still elementary and middle school back then.
Right.
And that became the transition into having this global management agency where I get to go all around the world and help communities to be greater, speak in a unified voice, to become greater, to have legacy wealth, and to have all the things that I've learned along the way. I want to be able to pay that forward and give that back to my community. That's what I'm here to do.
Wow. Gotta say, I say to that. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I tell people that all the time, like for that to happen right after your 28th birthday and you know.
We see that as part of, because 28 is one of the cycles of life.
I say.
And around 28 years of age, either you're getting married or you're in that preparation for starting your own business. That's a African concept.
I did not
They
know
really
that.
say at 30, at 35 is when you hit that mark. 35 is when your business should be flowing. But 28 is like your marriage, but you're not just getting married just to be with somebody. Like you're merging, you and the man you're marrying, if you're a woman, you and the man you marrying are bringing your resources together.
That's the beginning of that, of that 7-year cycle, 28, sometimes 4.
Okay.
Right, so by 35, your business should be up and flowing and maturing. Yeah.
So these things, these things happen in us, and you don't even have to know it because it
Destiny.
proves,
It's destiny. Yeah.
it's destiny. But before you go on, I just want to bring out the fact that you didn't expect it to happen that way.
I didn't.
So that's the other thing is that, you know, a lot of times, and this is a testament to that your blessings come through adversity.
Right.
You know, when a lot of adversity.
And through spirit.
Yeah.
Because it's like sometimes when you lose, like you going through something, like you hit, like you said, you hit that mark, that 28, and then
all 3 of them things happen.
I don't know if you thought that, like, dang, what's going on? I'm losing everything. But actually, you gaining
everything.
I gained
You
so
gained
much.
because you reached that cycle, and whoever you was that was it.
That's exactly
Like, a lot of times we say, oh, I broke up, I lost my marriage.
Yeah.
And it's like, what did I do wrong? But sometimes you just live that cycle with that person to that age.
Right.
And it's like, that's it.
Part of your destiny.
Right. Destiny hit, and you was able to lock right in.
And that was the test. That was the graduate. That was the final exam to graduate from that 7-year period from 21
to 28.
27, and then turn to 28.
Yeah.
That was the test to go, you know,
It's
into
time
that
for you
and
to
be successful. Yeah.
It's so funny because I appreciate that insight and wisdom because I hadn't thought about that 7-year cycle. I know that's a thing, but again, I hadn't reflected on that.
Yep.
I think about when I did everything early. Okay, so I was a teen mom. I had 2 children in high school, still graduated top of my class in the university high school program.
So for any young women out there in that situation, you hear this, right?
Stay focused, okay? I did not want to become a statistic. And I can look back at that now and go, how did I have children in high school? But it's because I was looking for love in the wrong places, right? Coming up in like this dysfunctional household and everybody's focused on other things. And I'm just kind of the middle child, literally convening the family, trying to bring peace and harmony to everything. And I realized that I was kind of looking external for that. But I had so much trauma and adversity in my life. So if I think about like being a 15-year-old giving birth to my son in the backseat of the car trying to get to the hospital.
Okay.
That's a one.
Wow.
Fast forward to 17, having the second child, but then going straight into, so I wanted to be a psychologist. That's what I settled on, was psychology. Majored in psychology in high school in a university high school program, earned college credits, went straight into a mental health institute as a psychiatric technician, got punched in the back by a patient.
What age was this?
I was about 20. Let's see. I had my last daughter at 21. So yeah, this was about 21, 22.
Wow.
And the reason I got into this line of work is because I got punched in the back. And my dream was to be a psychologist. I've always had admiration for understanding why people do what they do. I don't want to judge people for the way they show up. What's happening beneath the surface, spiritually, mentally, to make them do and say the things that they're doing. And so that's always been a passion for me. So when I got injured, my doctor was like, go do something else because I was out of commission. I was on workman's comp for months. I couldn't stand up straight. I had to go through chiropractor, physical therapy, acupuncture, everything for months. And so he was like, go do something else. And so I left there and I went to go work for an event planning company. And so that's how I got into the event management. I started as a receptionist, moved up to be the number 2 in the office, youngest person, only Black person in the office. And I feel so blessed. My boss back then is still a very good friend of mine who really allowed me to be an entrepreneur at that point, right? And be a liaison between all the key things that a business owner would need, the HR, the IT, the headquarters office. So I started building infrastructure and processes at 20. You know, I was there at 19 is when I went and started there. I wasn't even old enough to drink, and I was traveling around the world doing events. And so I realized that path was very much orchestrated, but I didn't really know what it was playing out at that time. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
So yeah, that
you
is
did everything young.
Yeah.
Like you was in some major stuff at a younger
Right.
age. That's
so now
good.
I'm ready to retire because
Right.
I've done everything that most people don't get to do until they're in their 40s. I bought my first house at 21. I was married, had my last child at that point. So now I'm like, okay, I've done it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you did.
Well,
You did that.
No, that's destiny though, because some people, at 21 years old, like who's really
They haven't
thinking
done
about
anything.
doing something like that?
I know
They
a lot of
thinking
people at
about
21
partying
and they eat nothing.
doing like
Not nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Not nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what made you get into African spirituality?
Yeah, it's funny. I can remember the first time I wanted to go to Africa, right? I had no awareness of Africa and the things you see and hear on TV, which I'm sure you all know is like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! And people are scared because they think you're going to go like live in the rough. And I'm like, no,
Or the poverty, or they show you just the poverty aspect
like,
of Africa.
I've seen some of the most beautiful homes because when I go, I travel for work. So I'm with like the elected officials in their homes with the big security gate. You can't even see over the top of the gate to the house. And so I just started going through this path of wanting to do what I saw my ancestors do and to be reconnected with that energy. And I started moving away from Christianity.
And that was around what age?
So I was, at that time, I was already in business and it was probably around 30.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Probably somewhere around that
Yeah.
age.
So you good.
And so as I started that journey, getting out of the church, then I just started to research ancestors and what did people do to be connected to nature? How did people pray and all of those things? And as I did that, I began to uncover Orisha and start understanding ancestors and all of those things. And so that really embarked my journey into wanting to know more about Africa, right? And then I said, I want to figure out how to get, and at that time, my money was not the best. And here's something interesting that I'll share with people, that your money is directly connected to what's happening in your life. So if you're in a funky relationship, the water is leaking in your faucets, all those things have a direct connection to your flow of money. Money is just the flow, right? It's just a currency and it's a spirit, and you have to know how to master that spirit and feed it. So I can look back at my accounting and I can see where the pivots were in my bad relationships because my money was directly impacted. I can see who I was with and what I was doing, and I can remember the moments.
Yeah.
Right. So I just want to kind of drop that.
You reading the waves.
Ooh,
I'm reading the frequency,
heavy.
and right. And so I started to understand Orisha and started understanding IFA. And I said, I got to get to Africa somehow. And let me tell y'all what happened. This is how I got to Africa, because I could not afford to go on my own at that point. Because I was on the outskirts of a bad relationship.
Right.
And so I was living in Columbia, Maryland at that time, and there was a International Multicultural Committee. They were like, hey, we are looking for someone who has your skill set to join this committee. And then I joined the committee, and they were like, hey, would you mind being a chair of this committee? And so I joined this committee, which was all about bringing together different ethnicities to do all kinds of convenings in the community, language academies, and different festivals and events and things like that. And they were planning a sister city exchange. And guess who got to be part of the city exchange? Sister city exchange with Tamagana.
Love you, boy. God, you right on. Just drop you right there.
In Tamagana. And so I got to travel to Ghana as part of developing a sister city exchange between Columbia, Maryland and Tamagana.
Oh, and Timma. Yeah, I know Timma.
And through that, I was able to go to Corfradua, to Grenu Beach, to Kumasi, to Cape Coast. And I was told I would be a queen mother. And I was like, ooh, okay. I'm with it. But I got to Africa then because of my just praying, please let me find an opportunity. And I found that opportunity. I never read the newspaper in Columbia, Maryland. I just happened to open up the Columbia Observer on that day. And the page that I opened up to talked about the committee. And I was like, oh, it's a multicultural committee. I'm always into culture and wanting to be immersed into how other people live.
Right.
And so I went, they loved me, and I just kept moving up within that committee, and that's how I got to Ghana.
Wow.
That's what we call alignment. For those who don't know, that right there, that's what that is.
Ancestors at work. That's
Ashe.
interesting.
Ashe.
So you are an Egungun priest.
I am.
And what year did you get initiated into the
That
Egungun?
was 4 years ago, actually.
4 years ago.
Yep. 4 years ago.
So as an Egungun priestess and a business owner, right? What's your Orisha?
Oh, Aje Olokun.
Aje Olokun. Wow, that fits. So as an Egungun priest, as a child of Aje Olokun, and as a business owner, how has all three of those, because that's still spirituality merging with your business.
With the business side.
So having those, having your spirituality and your business life, might as well say married together.
They are.
What is the experience?
So it's funny.
Or what have you been experiencing?
Yeah. You just asked me this question a couple days ago, and I was like, I'm so tickled. That's the way that I can explain it, is that I'm tickled. And I think part of this spirituality is just remaining in a childlike mindset, to just be awe-stricken by all the things that happen, so that you can remain open and childlike and creative and being able to understand it. And so I align every major business decision with my spirituality.
Okay.
I hire people, I connect with partners based on my spirituality. And if it doesn't fit within that, then it cannot happen. It's a hard no for me.
I say.
One of my mottos is, no was a complete sentence. I don't need to give you no explanation. It just is what it is. Don't ask me no questions.
Why? No. I just, no.
It's just no. It's just no. I don't have to explain that.
Right.
And so I am just always aligned, as you mentioned earlier. I am in the right places at the right time, talking to the right people, and I have a seat at the table. I have the privilege of having a seat at the table, and it's those privileges that allow me to be seen as the leader that I am, and be able to make such important decisions for so many people. And that's really important to me. But that's all aligned with my spirituality. It's who I am as a person. I have a spiritual group here on Meetup that I, started when I first got here.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Because I wanted people to not feel like they were alone.
So how old were you now? Let's say 30 something.
So when I moved here, I've been here for 6 years now.
Where are you originally from?
DC.
Oh, you're from DC?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So this is my, I think this is my, actually, it's 2024. I think it's my 8th year here.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been 8 years.
So that was probably around 8 years ago when you started the group?
So, I moved here, and then a year or so after that, I started it on the winter solstice. And we did a winter solstice event at Mama Bessie's. She's one of my Miss LaSoul is one of my favorite people here in Charlotte. But she opened up her botanica for us to come in and convene and hold events where we just talked about spirituality. How do you work with nature? What are the different equinoxes and solstices about? How do you work with that? How do you work with your ancestors? How do you work with your Orisha? What happens when you see a spirit? How do you command a spirit? And how do you work with that so you're not living in fear? Because spirits are like in the room with you, right? And so we just had those safe, sacred spaces to be able to have those conversations. And I've had to put that on hold since then, but they're in a Facebook group. They still communicate, and they're all good. And I have to now focus on my elevation and my spirituality.
Yeah.
So someone else is leading that group.
They are in it together.
Okay, so it's that's good.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
So tell us about your current business. What's the name of your business, and what is the business?
Sure. So it's Exceptional Business Solutions, DBA, EBS Universal, because we are a global company. And so I've gotten to go all around the world. Yes, Ashe. I don't know what I would do if I couldn't travel around the world. And so some of the work, there's kind of 3 different areas that we focus on, which is really community engagement, event production, and then nonprofit management or management consulting in general, but it's mostly nonprofits. An example of community engagement work is there's a big grant here in Charlotte that Wells Fargo funds called Beyond Open. It's a $20 million grant funded over 3 years, administered by Foundation for the Carolinas. My company runs the engagement in the 6 corridors of opportunity, which is the economic development areas for Charlotte.
Okay.
And so that's an example of just like making sure that the people know the grant is available, who's eligible, what are the requirements, how do you apply, how do you have a successful application? Like those are the things we're doing, bringing the voices together, bringing the resources together to make sure that people understand what can I do to get to the next level. An example of event production would be one of our customers is Blue Cross North Carolina Foundation. So we go up and down North Carolina. We manage about 15 events for them, conferences, 3-day conferences. And we do about 30 events a year in total all around the world. And then the management consulting piece is really strategy, it's infrastructure, it's bringing the right people in, it's making sure that you've crossed your T's and dotted all your I's to make sure you're ready to scale, to bring in the right people, whatever it is you're trying to do. And those other pieces just naturally come into play. The event production, the community engagement are a natural piece of the management consulting.
Got you. So how can people get in touch with you or find out more information about your business if they want to inquire about your services or anything of that nature?
Sure. Thank you for that opportunity to share. So you can find us anywhere online under EBS Universal. You can also go to the website, ebsuniversal.com. My personal profiles are Taya Bolton, or I am Taya Bolton on Instagram. So I'm always happy to chat. I love feeding into small businesses. I love helping people just kind of get to their next level and really just helping them be a reflection.
Right.
Oftentimes people kind of get stuck in their own thoughts and ways of doing things. And I know that people who look like us wake up with oppressive thoughts. And so I want to inspire some hope and be able to have them envision this is you can be this, whatever this is. Let me show you somebody who's doing something very similar to that, so that you can see yourself in the narrative. Because if you don't see yourself in it, you'll never accomplish it.
Right.
I always knew I'd be big. I didn't know what I was going to do,
but you knew whatever
to do it. But I knew that I was bigger than what I had been given. So I just navigated through it all. And so, and I'm not saying that I've arrived, right? I'm just saying that I am not struggling. If it's a struggle, it's not for me. That's my motto. And so I don't put myself in positions anymore, because remember, I can look back at my accounting system and see where my areas of like,
so you can avoid, you know how to avoid that.
Yeah, I don't want to be in that position ever again. I barely got to Charlotte. I barely had enough money to get to Charlotte.
Well, that's interesting, because a lot of people don't think about that. Like, they don't know why, like, I'm going through financial issues and I'm going through, some hard times in my relationship. And a lot of times they don't connect the two. It's just like, unconnected. So, wow.
Connect the dots.
Yeah, that's deep.
I'll tell y'all a funny story about my journey to Charlotte. So, I was planning a lot of events between Charlotte and Asheville and decided I'm going to stay over the next time we plan an event and I'm going to check out the city, right? Because when you plan an event, you just do the event, you go back home. You don't get to explore and do what all the other participants get to do.
Right.
And so I stayed over. I fell in love with the city, and I was like, "Well, my lease is up. I am moving to Charlotte." I didn't know anyone here, and so my daughter was 16 at the time. We moved here that next year, like I said, and I had every obstacle come up that you can imagine. So the first house, I was new here and didn't quite know what part of Charlotte to live in. So I was like, let me not buy first. Let me rent, and then I can move around when that lease is up and figure it out, right? Yeah. So my sister and my daughter and I came here, looked at places. I found a spot. We applied. They approved me. And traditionally you go online, you make your payments, you do the things. They were like, "Oh, you have to come in person." I got to come back to Charlotte. I just got back home. I have to come back to Charlotte to put money down on this thing. So I had to go get cash. I had to go back to Charlotte. On the way back, and I came by myself because we had just gotten back home. I didn't have anyone to come back with me, so I drive back to Charlotte from DC by myself. On my way back to DC, y'all, my car broke down on the highway. My car broke down 5 minutes from my aunt's house
Okay.
in Virginia, who I never had spent time with before this. And now we are tight. Okay, we are super tight.
I see.
This allowed us to build a bond that is an unbreakable bond.
Wow.
So
That was it.
That was orchestrated. Yeah, that's that issue.
Indeed, because I didn't even think about calling her when I broke down. I was like, I'm calling the tow truck. I'm calling.
It was like,
I'm
nope.
like, Mom, guess what? She's like, call your aunt. And I was like, oh, she
Right there.
So I was able to stay at her house overnight, get the car repaired through the tow company, all the things, get back home. That car gave me so much problems, and it wasn't an old car. Like it was a wonderfully working car before I decided to move to Charlotte.
Wow. Yeah, that was an issue.
All of a sudden, it was totally issue. All of a sudden, I had all this chaos. So when it was time to move, my movers, the first company that I had tried to charge me triple the amount the day before it was supposed to move.
They be hustling.
Oh my God.
They real slick with that.
What is happening right now? So then I found another company that was able to come move our stuff down. So my daughter and I went first, and then the truck came a day or two after that. But before I got to Charlotte, I just literally was having a moment, and I was like, I don't know why this is so difficult. I don't understand this struggle. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do.
Prepare.
At the moment that I'm having this breakdown in my car, I'm sitting at a traffic light. I look in front of me. The car in front of me has a North Carolina license, and the first 3 letters in the license plate is TYA. It's TYA.
Damn.
It is literally my name with a North Carolina license plate.
Wow. Testing. This to test
Sitting
another
in
test.
front of me. And I said, okay, I got it.
See how bad you want it.
I'm not going to worry about it. I know that this is divine.
Yeah, that
this
was
is
the
a
sign.
line. That was the sign. It's just roll with the flow. Roll with the flow.
Because people think a lot of times everything's just supposed to go perfect every day, and it's not. You might break
the
down.
Opposite of perfect.
But sometimes that's the test to see if you
It's
if you really want it.
to see if you really have that patience that you're supposed to be having, or the character, or the resilience, or the perseverance. Like, you have to be tested. That's part of life. Just like it's part of school, you can't avoid it. You know, otherwise we can't tell whether you really know it or not. So, real time.
Let me tell you,
go
baby,
ahead.
those tests were something else.
Right.
And I'm grateful to have gotten through. But again, when you ask me, like, how do I apply this in business? Because I remember those moments, right? And so if I feel energetically that something is off, then something is off. And we have to figure out how to get it back in balance and really call it out, right? I think a lot of times we go through struggles because we don't want to offend, or we don't want to deal with something. It puts you in a position of having to have some degree of confrontation.
Yes.
You have to be able to stand firm. You can't, running a business is not for the faint of heart. I have had so many tough conversations with people. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, we have to have the conversation. I've had clients try to steal my people from me. I've had people try to steal my clients from me.
This business.
All the things, okay?
You're going to go through that. That's going to happen.
All the things are going to, and if that's not happening to you, stay in the game. If you're getting
long
to the
enough,
next level, it's going to
you will.
happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. That's still going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. You just have to be ready and, be firm in where you stand and how you stand, and really, this is where I call in the ancestors and where I call in
Call
my
you back
Orisha,
up.
okay? Because I don't fight any battle by myself. I don't get in the battlefield on my own. So I know who to call on and what to do in order for there to be a
victory.
win.
To restore the balance and to come out on top. Because sometimes coming out on top doesn't look like what other people think it's supposed to look like.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you just win. You be the winner by just being quiet.
By being quiet.
And don't let them
That's
just...
interesting. I was doing a DIFA today, and that's exactly what the Odu said.
Be quiet.
It says when a confrontation comes to you in this Odu, be quiet, because the ancestors and the Orisha are taking care
I gotta
of.
handle
Ashe.
it. Just let them be
Yeah.
whatever they want to fool or whatever they,
That's right.
depending on what they saying. Don't even, participate in it, feed it, give it energy.
Let your forces
Let them
handle
just,
it.
okay.
And it may not look like the human, because they may look at you
To
like,
them,
oh, you
they
lost.
looking at it like you lost. Like, oh,
But
she's soft. She ain't gonna.
The forces are
But
working. They work.
That's why we got to move in wisdom. Baba Olua, Baba Fabukumi, he always say it all the time.
Yeah,
if they
you gotta
say the
move.
sky is green, just say, have a blessed day.
It's green.
Don't say,
All right.
We don't
"Can't
need
you
to
dummy,
fight."
you idiot. No,
Yeah.
can't you see it's blue? Like, don't even do none of that. Just say, okay,
We don't
Right.
need to fight.
peace
We
and
don't need to
blessings.
fight.
Right.
Yeah.
If your sky is green, brother, that's what
That's
you
what
see.
you see. That's what she,
That's cool with me. You know what I'm saying? It's not going
not
to
hurting
change
me.
my day.
Right.
Right.
It's not her.
So you actually
and they
you
moving me in no way.
Yeah, you deplete your own spiritual energy by engaging with people by in unnecessary arguments, confrontations, like healthy confrontation is good and is needed. It's going to happen from time to time, whether it's business or spiritual or your kids or whoever it is.
But you choose your battles, as they say.
Absolutely.
And then what you say is how you say
how
it.
you say it.
You know what I mean too. So all of that comes into play.
I love that you brought up the word victory. That's literally what my name means. Egun Shekun is the one who leads others to
Right, the
victory.
ancestors
are
And
victorious.
so,
victory.
I know that in order for me to have longevity, for me to accomplish what my purpose is, that sometimes, unfortunately, more than I would like to, have to be in those uncomfortable conversations because it's shaping me for the work that needs to happen. And
Exactly.
if I don't go through it, I can't help a client. I can't help
'Cause you
someone
ain't
else
been
who
through
needs
it.
spiritual guidance because
Yeah.
I can't connect to it. You'll always attract people who've gone through what you've gone through.
That's true.
And so,
Because you can help them.
I know I can speak from real life examples. Like I always talk about all these entities that try to teach businesses how to be business owners, how to be business owners, and they've never run a business before. And I'm like, how the math is not mathing. So
Math ain't mathing. It's like a
The
marriage
math is not
counselor and you ain't never been married. How you gonna counsel
are we
somebody
doing
in marriage?
this? Yeah, we can't teach off of theory. We have to teach real world examples.
People love theory, boy. There's nothing wrong with theory,
Nothing's
but
wrong with theory, but we gotta
but
teach
you
people
got
some
to
things based on real
when it
life.
comes to certain situations, theory's not enough.
Yeah, you need real life experience.
You need experience.
important.
Yeah. So what advice would you give, let's say any young or really the age really doesn't matter, but I like to focus on the youth. So to the young girls and the young women that might be tuning in right now, you already been dropping gems. Hopefully they've been picking them up. But what direct advice do you have for our young sisters out here?
I think back to my youngest daughter, Deja, who is 24 now, and I never tried to force things on my children, right? I wanted them to have their own path and journey, and so I just allowed them to observe me and watch. And it's funny because I would teach them certain things, but I wouldn't know if they actually received it because I'm not forcing
They're paying
it
attention,
on them, right?
are they looking?
So I know that what I have been doing, at least Deja has been picking up because I can hear her repeat it back to her friends.
Okay,
And
I
so her friends might be going through something, and then she'll become the Taya in the conversation. She'll say, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just get yourself grounded. Make sure that you were doing all the things you need to do. Go journal."
Shout out to her.
That's good.
Burn a candle. Like she's like giving all the guidance, and I'm like,
Following in your footsteps.
And so I would just say, one, it's okay to tell people that you appreciate what they're offering to you. I know that young people like to feel like they got it all, they know it all. You have all these commands coming into the workforce, like I desire this salary and these benefits and all these things, right? And it doesn't work that way, folks. So I just want you to be grounded and understand that there is a process for everything. And if somebody gives you something, say thank you. I appreciate you. Okay? And so that's super important is to just show gratitude. I am where I am in life today because I am grateful every
Gratitude.
day. I am expressing gratitude from the moment I wake up to the moment I fall asleep. I am driving and just saying thank you to all the ancestors, to my Marisha and spirit guides that are walking with me every day. I live in gratitude. And so just stay in that. As was said already, choose your battles carefully. You don't have to respond to all the foolishness that is happening around you. It's dangerous these days. People are angry and not talking about that. And I think there's a lot that happened during the pandemic that causes post-traumatic stress disorder. We are not addressing for all ages, right?
They kind of knew what they was doing. They knew what they was doing.
And so just, pay attention, listen to your body. You have to have a sense of discernment. And if you feel off, accept that, right? But don't let it, stew in you for so long that it changes you and you become angry. And
don't let that soil get infected.
Exactly. Don't let it become something bigger than it needs to be. And so I would just say check in with yourself on a regular basis and make sure you're okay. Have somebody you trust that you can talk to that understands you and welcomes you and knows how to comfort you. And, just don't be selfish with information either. If you find something that's really working well for you, please, by all means, pay it forward and share with the people that you care about.
That's important.
Some wonderful advice.
A lot of times people want to hold in that information. I think a lot of our elders before us, some of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but some of them, they just, they went with a lot of wisdom. They went with a lot of knowledge of how to do things. And it's like, you didn't leave nothing for us to follow.
Take it and then be able to take it to the next level to build on what you had.
I think that's the highest point of success is when you can share how you became successful and teach it.
And help the next. It's actually an obligation. It's a duty,
when
really.
You plant that seed and you see what you've taught.
And then you get more blessings.
You get more blessings. Even when you become an ancestor.
You get elevated.
You become an Orisha, as they say. It's about what you leave behind for others.
Your legacy. What legacy. How do you want people to remember you? What are you going to leave here? What kind of mark are you going to leave here? Those are the things. So
that's important.
Any business tips for young women in business right now? I know you went over a couple of them, but you got to be firm.
Yes.
Anything you want to, and of course they can contact you for more information on your business, your services and stuff. But any business advice for people that maybe, young women that's trying to go to the next level, whatever their business is, and wherever area they are.
Absolutely. I'll say that, and I work with businesses every day as part of my work, right? Just making sure that, again, I can kind of be the mirror. Sometimes I hear people say things and I'm like, pause. Let's back up. I don't want you to do that. Sometimes the mirror is that's not a good idea. And I want you to pause and reflect and let's see where we can pivot this, or I want you to break it all the way down and start something different. And sometimes the mirror is, I think that's great. Now let's take this and turn it into this. So I would say that wherever you might be in that kind of mindset of like having a business, whether it's ideation or you're already in business and scaling, I'm going to say focus on one thing at a time. And it's part of who we are, right? I think one of the first bubble owls I had says you should always have multiple streams of income. In fact, 7, and that's great, but not all 7 at the same time.
Right.
Get one thing going amazingly well, and then allow that to pour into the next thing, right?
Yeah, IFA actually keeps telling me that because it's so hard for me to do it.
Yeah, because if you have chaos in one business, you'll have chaos in everything else.
Or if your energy is too scattered and you're trying to start 2 or 3 at a time, you don't have enough.
Yeah, you need a lot.
You don't have enough. You don't have enough fuel to just get the one going, right? You splitting that energy, and all that energy in the beginning needs to be focused on, like you said, getting one functional, and then get it, like you said, get it great.
Fuels the next business, and then
absolutely make something amazing. Go hard, give it all you have, make it amazing. Bring in the partners you need to bring in. When I say partners, I don't mean business partners, but community partners. Whoever's going to help you take it to the next level, and you would identify a community partner by who has a shared target market as you, who's trying to get in front of the same people as you are, and how can you collaborate? Because I'm all about collaboration over competition. How can you collaborate to get to your goal faster, as opposed to trying to do it on your own? Because that's what I had to learn. I'm a control freak, or at least I'm
a recovering control addict.
I'm growing, and so I'm learning how to flow like the water empress. And what I have learned is you might not always know exactly how it's going to happen. And even the way you think it may happen, it may not happen that way. But you have to be agile in business. Look at the pandemic.
Yeah.
The pandemic completely
You had to adapt or die. I know people's business died or they thrive. I know some people that thrived.
I thrived in the pandemic.
Yeah. Why do you think so? Because so many people were opening businesses and trying to figure out how to get grants, how to do this, how to do, trying to get that money.
Yes. So here's what I will say. I know a lot of businesses who were legitimately already in business during the pandemic. They could not access the PPP loans and all the things because they didn't have financials. They didn't have infrastructure. You cannot run your business like a hustler. It ain't gonna work.
Say that one more time for all our brothers and sisters in the back. Please.
You cannot run your business like a hustler. It is not going to work. You have to have policies and procedures and financials and separate your business from your personal bank accounts and all the things. And so people who I knew who had been in business longer than I had were not eligible because they didn't have QuickBooks. They didn't have anything to show the support.
Tax returns.
They hadn't filed their taxes. They didn't have financials. And so you're going to miss out. Nobody expected, like business grants are unheard of and they're not going to be around forever. Grants are for nonprofits typically. And so with Black Lives Matter and with the pandemic, here we are with business grants and it's so competitive. So one of the calls I get almost every day is, I've started my business, where's the money? What are you doing to sell?
Wait a minute.
That's where the money is. They want a grant off the break.
Off the rip.
Like, that is not how this works.
You have to show like what you're doing.
This is sweat equity. That is not how I grew to be the business owner that I am today. Nobody gifted me anything.
Yeah, you had to work for it.
I had to work for this. And when I figured it out, I taught other people. I brought other people along with me, and doors just continue to be open because I'm always opening up more doors for other people. And so I think, just making sure people understand the necessity to have things and your ducks in a row and to not be out here hustling in business. Cash App is not how we make transactions in business. Unless you're a food truck or something, you have to have that. You need an e-commerce account. You need Square. You need Stripe. You need PayPal. You need something where you can send an invoice to someone, right? And have them make an e-commerce payment. And yes, they're going to take that 3% out. But that's just part of the cost of doing business.
That's like part of the cost
of doing business.
To go to the next level. Because you can take the shortcut, like she said, and keep that little 3%. But because the way that's set up, you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot from growing and scaling and getting real money. Because you're trying to hold on to the 3%.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I literally, I told you guys we plan a lot of events, and one of the things that we're looking for right now is musicians for a conference that's coming up, Charlotte in August. And they wanted us to pay by Cash App, and I was like, no. I'm sorry.
I can't track you like that.
I need an invoice. I need to be able to process this with my business credit card. I need this to be legit. I cannot be paying you through Cash App. It's not going to happen. And there are business Cash App accounts, but I'm not doing it. This is how we're going to do business over here. Okay? And if you can't get inside of this bubble, we just won't do business together.
And it ain't that hard. It's not a hard bubble to get in. And it's a good bubble to get in.
Yeah. And so, those things are really important. So take the time to have a strategy. Failing a plan is a plan to fail for sure. Make sure that you have a plan, even if it changes, that's okay. I'll give you an example of how my plan changed during the pandemic. So I told you I started the business in 2006. I've always done a lot of events because I came out of the event industry.
Right.
And so one of my biggest clients in Maryland was a company named Inteller, and they were a big virtual event producer. And now that's the technology the White House uses for all of their virtual events.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And so we would do all these virtual events for their clients over the years. So we had both in-person event experience and virtual event production experience. And so we've been doing that since 2007. And during the pandemic, everything got shut down.
No more events
anymore.
Ain't no
right?
events.
Yeah.
And so I had to help our clients pivot their in-person events and programs into cloud-based
Virtual.
events and programs. And that's how we made our money. And we thrived during the pandemic. We got a big grant from the city. We trained all of the businesses and all the nonprofits
on how to use it,
how to stay in the cloud, right? We got invited to do things that I have never done before and could not have ever imagined. We did funerals.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that though. That did start up. I seen I had to do a couple funerals on the at home. You go log on to the website and click on, and you watch the video because you couldn't come.
You couldn't come.
You couldn't
or
go.
only a certain number of people
funerals
could come.
like that.
So we got caught. So I remember this elderly group of ladies called me, and they just blessed my heart so much, just being able to feed into them in that way, because they didn't know what to do. And their great aunt Rose had just passed away, and Aunt Rose
they
was
couldn't
over
have no
100
funeral.
years old.
And so
and they were, I don't even remember what part of North Carolina we were in, but they told me where the funeral was, and I was like, I've never been there, but I'm sure I can figure it out.
Okay, yeah.
And so I came with all my equipment.
Right.
So I had 2 computers, I had my microphones, I had a camera, and there were a certain number of people that could fit in the funeral home. So I had 1 computer focused on Aunt Rose in the casket.
Okay.
And I had another computer that was controlling the Zoom session. And all of those people were able to convene together because of all the technology working together.
Right.
We did funerals during the pandemic, and I was like, this is a whole new thing.
Wow.
But we had to pivot. Now nobody cares about virtual events again.
Right.
Right? And that's okay.
That's what you call being agile. That's what she was saying. That's agile. Yeah.
So you just have to be.
That's a blessing.
Always be ready. Always be
Some
ready.
people weren't able to make that pivot.
They weren't.
Like restaurants and a lot of people that were in certain industries.
Yeah.
Boy, it was rough.
It was. I
I
remember.
know California, they took a big hit.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of businesses shut down around the pandemic, during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Especially up north in New York and California. A lot of, the northern and the west, a lot of businesses shut down.
What would you say? You about to say something?
I think I just want to share that it's important. I think a lot of people, when they run a business, feel like they're alone. They're in a silo, that people don't understand them. And that's probably true, because the people who are in your family, your friend circle, who may not also be business owners, can't really connect with the things that you have to go through. So you have to find other
And
people.
they'll discourage you. And they'll, not only can they not connect with it, but they don't want you to connect with it either.
They'll tell you not to do it. It doesn't sound good. It's too risky. Go to work or retire. And if that's for you, then that's for you.
Right.
Not everybody can be a business owner, y'all.
Right.
It is not
That's
for
the other
everybody.
thing. Yeah.
It is not for
Know
everybody.
thyself.
That's absolutely right. Know where you fit in and be amazing at where you fit in, because there is a place for everybody.
Sure.
Ashe. And so just, kind of staying in the zone of knowing like what your place is, making sure that you have accountability, you are connecting with other business owners so that you can have those conversations. Don't feel alone, and there's probably some insight that they can share with you and you can share with them, and you feed each other and you grow together. And that's so important to have that around you.
Sure.
Last question, I think. Where do you see yourself headed in the future, spiritually and business-wise?
That's such a tricky question right now. I'm in this metamorphosis phase, but so
High level, general.
Okay. So I'm in school right now to get my MBA.
I say to that. All right. Gotta get that up. I say.
And so I'm in school, and my plan, I don't need the
Master's
degree.
in.
So right now it's global business management.
That makes sense.
That may switch to entrepreneurship because I plan on teaching entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So I told you I started everything early. I don't need the degree. I am a CEO today. I'm not trying to grow into some other position.
Okay.
It is for me to be able to say, I did it.
For you. It's for you.
I had to focus on getting my kids through school and all the things. And my son is a nurse, and now he's in med school. And so I'm paying his student loans right now. And so I'm like, I'm just going to pay for mine out of pocket. I don't need any more loans. And I'm blessed to be able to do that.
I say.
And so I am in school to get my MBA because my plan is to soon retire from this level of consulting that I am doing so that I have more space for the spiritual piece. I know that I have to be doing more as an Agungun priest. It's literally come up in my readings every time I have a reading.
I say.
From mat to mat, I lead others to victory. Okay? So from country to country, I am going to be doing what I love to do. But being a professor allows me to still do something meaningful and give back. And continue to give people a platform to build legacy wealth, because that's really what I want to see for people. And it also allows me to grow spiritually and sustain my longevity. And so just trying to balance out what those things look like is where I am today.
I always say, the more you help people, the more stronger you become spiritually. Because there's a thing about when you help people, it makes you feel a certain way, and then you can, the more and the more and the more and the more you help more people. You just you start feeling good, happy. And that's the thing.
With generating positive energy.
Right. Spirituality is not just about, you just, you're in that zone. It's about being happy.
It's not just about being in front of your shrine. You got to be at your shrine all the time. Like, like we said before, you got to be at your shrine when you're driving. When you wherever you are.
Exactly. You are the shrine.
Right. Saying you have to be in the consciousness of that.
Yes.
Right. That's the true power. It's not just when you sitting down in front, in front of whatever.
Shrine,
or standing in front of that shoe.
At the end
whatever.
of the day, you are that shrine. So the more you help people, the more happier I think you become. Not something is off. But
if you helping people with ill intent or with what's the word I'm looking for? Ulterior motives. Then no, you won't get those blessings. You got to be, like you said, you got to be helping people with Iwapwele and Iwariri. That's the thing to that. And you mentioned legacy wealth, right? So it's funny because when I met you, and I know you from the business world here in Charlotte, right? So for those that don't know, I have a financial services company. So I do retirement planning, and legacy wealth creation, and look at that, boy, the ancestors almost won some water. And life insurance and those type of things. So Taya knows some of my business associates, my mentors, one being Dr. Frazier and some other people that So we'll be talking more about legacy wealth and all those type of things soon on more podcasts to come. Business, other topics. Like we said when we started the podcast, it's more to this than just,
It's more to the culture than just the
bees, pots, and titles.
Bees, pots, and titles.
It's more to the culture
than that. Business. That's all part of the culture.
Right? Because really our goal, we should be building a nation. I always quote it again. John Henry Clark, one of my favorites. He said, if your religion or your spiritual system does not address your independence as a people and having your own nation and doing your own thing, then what are you doing
it for?
You wasting your time. This is what Obawaja, the first king, Ibarato Rome, Oyotunji, and so many others back then from that period understood. Because the village Oyotunji kingdom was built for that purpose. So we have to keep that in mind. Everybody's want to get initiated, want to get godchildren and elays and all that, but we got a nation to build, and there's a lot more to that. You can't just do that just learning IFA.
Yeah, you
build. You gotta know how to build. You gotta know business. We gotta know science. We gotta be teaching. We gotta be able to take care of ourselves, whatever, medically and health wise.
Right, you need all of those things. Yeah, and about Sagerman, he was more of a he was a working priest.
Yeah,
but he was more about Black businesses.
I say.
Black culture, Black businesses, entrepreneurship.
Of course.
He spoke about it a lot. If you go look at his speech, 1992 at Clark University, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He was talking about being independent, Black people being independent, business-wise, because he was looking at, wow, how can the Chinese come in this country and they just
do what they're doing?
They zip past us.
They do.
Why are the Jews
obvious.
so far ahead?
It's obvious.
So
you see it. So
our spirituality here in the United States was built not just on, like we said, beads, pots, and titles.
Yeah,
but it was built
not
on
just religion,
spirituality, culture,
fanaticism, almost.
Yeah, and entrepreneurship.
Building, like when they went out there was nothing there. There was no village.
Yeah.
So they accomplished an incredible feat.
That's great.
Obadiah Segerman was definitely a prophet, and to me is elevated to the point of saint or Orisha, or look at what he did. Nobody's perfect. He was human, so he had to make mistakes and do stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
But look at what he did. And I want to take a moment to give a shout out to Yeye Osunbumi, right? That just received her elevation. That was beautiful. We just had the IFA festival at Couche at Oitunji Kingdom, Ajay and King's Day. She was the soldierette that was beside the Oba that came to help build the village when there was nothing out there but grass and mud and snakes and mosquitoes and alligators. And so she is, that's a great queen mother right now. And nobody we give her really, flowers and appreciate that.
And she wasn't really spoken about a lot in history.
Yeah. So we about to change that because we headed to Florida. And we coming, we got to interview you, Yay. We appreciate you. And we got a few more people to interview down there as well. We got to get that history. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So, listen, we are here again.
Yes.
At another episode. Thank you for joining. Continue to like, share, subscribe, hit the merch. LetsTalkIFA.com. We got merch for sale.
Yes, we do.
And just thank you for riding with us on this journey as we grow ourselves with this podcast and turn this into something larger than life.
I want to give a shout out to all of the amazing women in our culture. One of them is right here, my wife over here. And this sister here who just blessed us with her knowledge and wisdom on business.
Bolton, Egun Shegun. I want to give a shout out to my wife now, because if I don't, I'm going to be in a whole lot of trouble. IFA, love you. Shout out to all the women in the culture that's making it happen, that are serving as role models, that's holding it up, holding it down, holding it all the way around. That was corny, but I couldn't help. It was right there. I had
that
to
was
say
the right thing to do.
That's the right thing to do.
I am Awo Ifa Jumini Ray.
And I am Awo Ifa Tegunshe.
And you are listening to
the greatest
podcast
on
the whole
planet
Earth. Earth with an F.
Let's talk IFA.
Ashe, wow, Odabo, everybody. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.